Let's talk about some of the concerns, or as I should say, the bad that came out of Saturday's game. The offense sputtered. I know they scored 34 points, but again, we know that 2 of them were off of pick sixes from Riley Moss. There's your 14 points. You've got 2 field goals from Shudak. Okay, there's 20 points. And you've got 1 long run from Tyler Goodson right off the bat. Now, you can't take those plays away. You can't take the Goodson play away. But again, can you rely on that week after week? You just can't expect to be able to hit 56, 58-yard runs every week. This team's going to have to chip away sort of like they did last season and open up holes. The offensive line was good at times, but again, at times there wasn't any space for Ivory Kelly Martin. Iowa had too many negative runs. There were some positive things. I thought Kelly Martin actually ran the ball strong, but consistency up front is going to be a key moving forward. We know that, and that was one of my concerns heading into this game because Kirk Ferentz had stated earlier in the week that he expected to rotate so many guys in at offensive line, and that's exactly what he did. I had stated earlier last week during a live segment with Mark Rogers and Jim Coyle of Indiana Radio that I believed Mason Richmond would start at left tackle. That's nothing that I just magically came up with, but have heard great things about Richmond. Our good friend Tom Kakert over at HawkeyeReport.com said the same thing earlier in the year, that he thought Mason Richmond was really coming on strong. And sure enough, Mason started at left tackle and basically stayed there. We saw a little bit of Jack Plummet left. We saw a little bit of Jack Plummet right. Of course, Kyler Schott did not play in this game. And honestly, that left side of that line was okay. I think it was probably better than the right side, but overall, I think collectively they have room for improvement. But Mason is the guy right now at left tackle. Justin Britt played, I think, pretty well. Tyler Linderbaum left the game briefly, but I don't think he actually missed any offensive snaps. It was on a touchdown run where he left the game. He got banged up with, I believe it was a helmet to his leg, a helmet from his quarterback, Spencer Petras, on the designed quarterback run. But overall, offensive line played okay. Nick DeYoung, he's going to have to get more snaps under him at right tackle. You want Kyler Schott back. I think Kyler Schott would really help this team right now, but it's giving these guys an opportunity to actually get snaps under their belt. Connor Colby's another guy that got some time. We even saw Michael Myslinski late in the game. So some guys are getting opportunities right now. You just hope that they can continue to develop, and they will with George Barnett and certainly Kirk Ferentz at the helm there. The second concern, or the second bad that we saw from Saturday's game, and I hate to say I told you so, and I'm not saying that this is exactly the reason why it happened, but as you'll recall, in some of our pregame conversations, or our preseason conversations, one of the big concerns, and you can look back, week 170 of Bradis Branded Thoughts, one of my big concerns was the fact that Kirk Ferentz traditionally, and he followed that same trend this year, does not allow his running backs to get hit very much in fall camp. I understand the reasoning. You want to keep your guys healthy, especially when you don't have a ton of depth at running back, although I've heard more good things about depth at that position. Here's what Kirk Ferentz, though, said after Iowa's 2 fumbles from their 2 primary ball handlers on Saturday.
We had 2 fumbles today, right, and that's not good. But Ivory's been out for a while, so I think that's probably part of it. And we're pretty careful about tackling experienced guys in practice during scrimmages. We don't tackle a lot live anyway, so I guess you got to live with that. We had 2 last year on our opener too.
So maybe there was something to the reasoning that perhaps it can hurt you early in the season when you don't let your running backs take hits. And Kirk kind of alluded to that. Now, hopefully, Tyler and Ivory got those fumbles out of their system. But again, we saw this exact same thing happen a year ago at Purdue, and it killed Iowa. All right? Goodson, Mekhi Sargent, both had fumbles week 1, and they lose to Purdue. So maybe you want to look at that. I'm not telling Kirk Ferentz to change that model, but it's certainly something I'm sure Kirk and his staff will look at moving forward. Again, I get it. It's a fine line to dance. It's a tightrope to balance. But is it a coincidence that we've seen multiple fumbles in each of the 2 openers for Iowa these past 2 seasons? Something to think about. But again, hopefully both of those guys, who are typically very sure-handed ball carriers, got those out of their systems. The third bad, and this isn't something that happened during the game that alarmed me, but it's just the simple fact that Iowa cannot expect or rely on the number of turnovers they got in this game. All right? I would even venture to say against Iowa State this week, I will be shocked if Iowa State gives the ball away 3 times, especially from Brock Purdy. Now, can Iowa's secondary force lots of turnovers this season? Absolutely. And they're going to need to, especially if we don't see marked improvement from Spencer Petras in the passing game. But you just cannot rely on 2 pick sixes from Riley Moss. And what a catch by Dane. I keep going back to that Dane Belton catch. What a catch. Looked like a receiver out there on his interception. But Iowa's going to have to figure out a way to obviously gain consistency on the ground. They're going to have to figure out a way to get the ball downfield. Not enough touches for Tyrone Tracy. Don Patterson brought that up after the game as well. Just not enough touches for him. He's explosive. You got to get him the ball. Sam Laporta looked good. Luke Lachey got his first catch. That was nice to see. Reganey got some catches, but Tracy needs more touches, and I think that will happen moving forward.